It's time again for Talking Trade, sponsored by MMAC's World Trade Association and Michael Best Strategies.
Welcome to Talking Trade. I'm Sandi, Siegel, president of MEJ.
And I'm Ken Wasylik, Managing Director of EM Wasylik and Associates, an international business development company. We're very pleased that we have Tim Sullivan, the current Dean of the School of Business at Carroll University, on our show today. Previously, Tim was at Osiris International for nearly or over 35 years on a wide variety of positions, both domestically and internationally, all the way up to the CEO suite. And Tim, you've worked on a number of board of directors and advisor to numerous organizations, too many to name at this particular point, but thank you for joining us and welcome to Talking Trade.
Glad to join you. Looking forward to the discussion.
Okay, thanks, Tim. So most of your career has been on the international side, Tim, and as many as you know, American companies, American enterprises do very little international business, whether it's importing or exporting. In fact, there's a report that says less than 5% of American enterprises do any international transactions whatsoever. How do you see this? Do you see this as an opportunity for U.S. businesses in the international markets, since most of your career has been outside of the U.S.?
Yeah, quite frankly, I'm really shocked by that percentage. 5% is extremely low. And when I worked my career, 80% of my time was spent overseas in overseas markets. And you look at the size of the overseas markets, it's just flabbergasting that it is that low, that as Americans, we just really don't concentrate on these abundant and very accessible markets around the world.
Right. And so now that you're the dean of the School of Business, a leading academic institution here in Wisconsin, but you've only been in the position for 6, maybe a little bit more months, what do you see the role of colleges and universities in educating the students of the future for those opportunities on the international marketplace?
Well, it's interesting. As I've started my new role here at Carroll, I've been obviously looking at the curriculum, looking to see how it should be or could be refreshed. I've actually had students come up to me and say, "You're the international guy. You worked your career internationally. Why don't we have more of those types of classes, courses, or even majors or minors in our curriculum?" And they're right. We have some international sprinkled around, within some of our business courses and some of our history courses and things like that. But there's not a concentrated effort. There's not a concentrated core group of really studies that would provide them with the skills that would give them an interest, I think, to really get involved in the international market. So that's one of our goals. We will actually, we've already begun working on creating a curriculum that they can concentrate, a lot of their business and technological studies in the international markets.
Well, it's certainly encouraging. There's hunger for it, and you're being asked those questions. So again, encouraging and exciting that there's interest from some of these new students. Yes, professionals in the global international business, many of us are looking for graduates or even interns that understand how businesses work, whether it's micro or on the macro level, but just nuts and bolts of supply chain, purchasing, looking at the world as a global economy. Again, some colleges are trying to foster that, that thinking and that practical, relationship, that practical knowledge. What are you doing at Carroll University in regards to addressing those needs and trying to expose the students to that thinking of looking at the world as a global economy and understanding the practical side of things and what some of these professional opportunities are?
It's interesting. I'm a alumnus, I should say, of Carroll University, and graduated several years ago. part and parcel of the curriculum back when I was a student here was you had to complete credits in CCE, which is cross-cultural experience, which effectively meant you went overseas. So I did 2 trips, one to Spain and one to Puerto Rico, because my language at that point in time was also Spanish. And it created an interest in the international, marketplace. And I went on to get my master's in international management. We still have that today. All these years later, we just had a group return from Japan this morning. We have our students, and it's a requirement to do cross-cultural experiences. So they get the bug, with the international travel. Then it's really up to us to make sure that we, build a curriculum that backs up that type of experience that they get. So if you require that experience and you want them to travel and get exposure to international markets, we need to really back it up more pertinently, I think, with the right studies, as you correctly said.
Yeah.
Import, export, things like that that are just basic supply chain type things that would help them use that experience and match that up with a curriculum that can give them a skill set. Now, all of a sudden, they look to the international markets.
And understanding that, what the opportunities are and how goods get from one place to another, right? So
Correct.
that,
Exactly.
yeah, that's an exciting, very valuable, insisting on the travel and the study abroad. And I know Europe, we have hosted several Europeans early in their careers because it's mandatory for graduation to have experience abroad. And you see how relevant that is in their understanding, how they fit into the bigger economy. So, kudos to Carroll for that programming. You've had an amazing career and I'm really enamored by your, stepping into this new role. All of this experience globally, professionally, is there one personal incident or experience that really defines your international career or your international passion, and bringing this all together?
Many, but I think probably the one that stands out the most is when I was CEO of Bucyrus, we made some strategic acquisitions to broaden our product line and become the largest manufacturer of mining machinery in the world, to the point that we actually set up a complete mine in India with $1 billion worth of machinery for a massive mine that was being put in place by Reliance Energy. And I actually did the negotiations myself with Anil Ambani, which is the younger brother of Mukesh Ambani, a very well-known philanthropist and gentleman who's done extremely well in the Indian market. And I think that was the impetus behind, I think, a lot of other companies looking at what the international markets can bring and the scope of the types of markets that we were working in. So that probably that hit the radar screen across the globe, really, for a lot of manufacturers in the U.S. market. And hopefully those types of experiences are ones that will carry on to have other people look at the types of things we're talking about today. Getting people and companies and students more interested in these vast, huge, and very opportunistic international markets.
Absolutely. And it's very poetic to me, the full circle you come in as an alum of Carroll and bringing that wealth of experience you have back to the college and having an impact on the curriculum.
Well,
So
that was the intent. I mean, it to me, people ask me why have you done what you've done? And my comment is, if you've worked 40 years and been successful in your career, to take that experience to your grave and not pass it on to the next generation or two just seems to be criminal. I mean, I think we as successful businessmen need to give back, and the best way to do it is to pass that experience on to young adults coming up, learning the ropes.
Right. It's a fabulous story. So very intriguing. So thank you for that.
Tim, I have a question. Is there a course, international trade by Tim Sullivan that I can audit?
Yeah, Very soon. Stay tuned. We're gonna be making some big announcements September. We're working hard this summer, putting together a very, very strong and refreshed curriculum. And you may just happen to see something in there that looks and sounds just like you described.
Okay, okay. Well, Sandy, maybe we should go back to school because
Well, I think so, or, right.
my
You
best-
can, you can put us on a panel, because I think both Ken and I have our own share of horror stories and, worst shipments and, business deals overseas that we put together. So,
Yeah.
but it's very inspiring. It's a great story. Tim, thank you for joining us on Talking Trade and for sharing your story, and all the best of success, Carroll.
My pleasure, and thanks for having me.
Thanks, Tim.
You've been listening to Talking Trade, sponsored by MMAC's World Trade Association and Michael Best Strategies.